Hello everybody, it's Final Rich here with another video. Wasn't expecting to make one so soon. Something amazing happened yesterday and I had to share it. I mean, I just about shit myself, to be quite honest. But first, I picked up a couple of used records. One of them happens to be a grail of mine. And it's this plain looking record, which most people probably won't recognize. And even if you did recognize, you might not be able to see the font there. But this is Brown Book by Death in June, their 1987 album. This is a grail for me. It may be the only 80s Death in June album that I don't have. The 1980s Death in June is my favorite period. They did have an album, came out in the early 90s. Something about what happens when symbols fail, or I don't know, something like that. I would love to get that album. I have never actually even seen it though. But yeah, this is a personal grail. Fantastic album. The inner sleeve is just as plain as the album cover. Side 1, it's got a track listing. Death in June, Brown Book. And side 2 has this very kind of blurry photo actually. And it looks like a military photo. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a couple of Nazis. That is the one criticism of Death in June. Some people have accused them of being racist, which I don't really think is the case. The band prior to Death in June was a band called Crisis. It was an anti-racist, anti-fascist band, so I kind of doubt if he went from that to a racist band. But Douglas P. does tend to have Nazi imagery in some of his records, his album covers. In fact, here's the insert, and it's got an army guy. I don't think it's a German, though, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on those type of things. But I think he's just fascinated with the whole thing. And on this side, you got the lyrics. Fantastic album this is. I told myself I'm not gonna say anymore. It's hard, you know. Side 1 is kind of a neo-folk sound. For those that aren't familiar with Death in June, Douglas P. he plays a rhythm guitar. He's not a versatile guitar player. In fact, I think he might only know one chord. He probably knows two, but it's just strumming. And sometimes it's almost like a percussive sound. In some of his later albums, it's just him and playing guitar and vocals. And those albums tend to get a little boring for me. But this early 80s stuff, he layers different sounds on top of that. You got some industrial sounding percussion on some of the songs. You got female added vocals on some of these songs. But yeah, this is side 2 is different though. It's a little more experimental. But I believe this is on YouTube. It's not as good as their first album, but it's way up there for me. Death in June, one of my favorite bands from the 80s. And I think on video this is going to be pretty boring album art so far. This next used find I found will make up for that though. It's the Insect Trust. I mean, come on. You can't get any more 60s psych than this cover, you know? If that doesn't say 60s psych, what does? I mean, even this picture of the band in the woods playing their instruments. The little flutes. Their little wooden bamboo flutes. And look at the guy's headband here, a beaded headband. But it really isn't hippie music. Well, I guess it is hippie music. It isn't psych, though. It's more of Americana. Turns out one of the guys, I didn't know it, but I believe it's this dude here. But I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's this dude, yeah. Was in the Holy Modal Rounders. I'm not a really big fan of that band. They were kind of like in the psych times. They weren't real psych either. It seemed like they were just trying to be weird for the sake of being weird. At least the albums I've heard by them. Which is only one album, so I guess I'm jumping to conclusions. They also have another member called Robert Palmer. I think a lot of people know who Robert Palmer is. No, it's not the Robert Palmer that had all the hits in the 80s. It's a music critic that I think he worked for the New York Times. But anyways, on to the music. It's kind of Americana. Well, actually, the first song, it starts out, it's kind of like Americana. And it breaks after a minute and a half or so into this middle section of the song. And it's quite psychedelic. It has these psychedelic guitars and this psychedelic sax intertwined. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be a fucking great psych album, you know? And then it goes back to the Americana thing. The second song does something quite similar, but it isn't psychedelic. And I would say this is not a psychedelic album. It's more of a Americana album, actually with jazz, tones of jazz in there. And the sax playing, I'm not a really big... They have two sax players on this. See if you can see them here. Yeah, I guess these are the two horn players. Oh no, there's two guys playing horn here, and this guy's playing a little bamboo flute or some shit, you know. Female singers. That picture kind of sums up what they sound like. But what was I gonna say? I'm not a real big fan of rock bands with the horn sections. That's what I was gonna say. And this is not that at all. The saxes are really more jazz sounding. They're not playing these, I don't know, what do you call it? I can't think of the word. You know, like bands like Chicago, bands like even Blood, Sweat and Tears, they had that horn section, and they played these charts, and they're all playing the same thing, and I don't really care for that shit. This is not that at all. In fact, this was, even though it wasn't what I expected, it is as good as the album cover, though. I really, really dug this. Came out in 1969. I don't think I said that. And it's on the Capitol Rainbow label. What a great find. I mean, these first two used records, one is a Grail and one is just a fantastic album. Now this one here is the third and final used record I bought this past week. It's Muddy Waters, Rare and Unissued. I've only listened to it once, and to be honest, I only listened to side one. I've only had it less than a week. It's kind of old-timey sounding. It does not sound like this picture with his electric guitar at all. I don't know. Yeah, it's just bass, piano, and guitar. It's acoustic guitar for the most part, from what I gathered. And it's all 1940s stuff. Oh, no, it goes up into the 50s. I'm definitely wrong. It looks like side 2 might be some electric shit. What can I say? I doubt if this is going to be my favorite Muddy Waters album. I love Muddy Waters, though. And I have enough Muddy Waters albums where I can make a Muddy Waters video now, for sure. But I keep saying that. I keep saying I'm going to make a Misfits video. I keep saying, I mean, Moby Grape is another band. Jefferson Airplane is another band. On and on and on. Traffic. I filled all my holes with Traffic. But yeah, he's my favorite blues musician. I know a lot of people prefer Howlin' Wolf. I only have 3 Howlin' Wolf albums. His first 2 albums, I believe, and they're both fantastic. I have another one that isn't quite as good. And this is on the Chess Records. I believe this is the 80s label, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Now, the amazing thing that happened to me is I got some BCLT from Randy Weaver. Now, for those that don't know, I'm going to leave a link to his video down below. And he sent me some BCLT. It's this Vanguard comp. I believe it was a Record Store Day comp. Vanguard recently released that Poppies comp, psychedelic comp, and this is more of the same. A lot of the same bands. The Third Power, the 31st of February, Circus Maximus. So it's a lot of the same bands. Oh yeah, and the Frost. Man, the song by the Frost on that Poppies album, fantastic. It's like an 8-minute song, just a really rockin' jam. I have not heard this yet. I just got it yesterday. But if it's as good as the other Vanguard comp, and I'm sure it is, because this is the first one that they came out with. It's a double album, and it's called Follow Me Down, Vanguard's Lost Psychedelic Era, 1966 to 1970. Fantastic. Now, Randy said that this album had a flaw in it. I'm going to have to rewatch his Record Store Day video. I believe that was the video where he talked about this. I looked at the sides under a light and I didn't see any flaws. But like I said, I'm going to go back and watch his video to see, what the flaw is. And I remember he said that he contacted the company and they said, yeah, we'll send you another copy, and they sent him a replacement one, and so he sent me this. Now I'm hoping he didn't send the good one. Huh, Randy? That would be funny. If you did, too bad, buddy. But anyways, I'm just kidding. Vanguard label, silver. I believe that Poppy's one was gold, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool. Vanguard, recordings for the connoisseur. I'm a connoisseur now. But anyway, oh yeah, well, let's see. Looks like there's an insert. Oh no. Fuck no. Unbelievable. I can't believe he sent this. I mean, we texted each other about this record. He showed this in one of his later videos. It's a 7-inch. He did a punk. Man, this needs to be my tag right here, dude. Negative Approach, their first single. This appears to be a first press, by all accounts. It's got a little minor crease in the cover. But yeah, the labels are black and white. There was 1,000 of these made. It came out in 1982. The first press were black and white labels. The second press was a red and white. And looking at the dead wax, I'm 99.9% certain this is the first press of Negative Approach. For those that don't know, this is a very rare album. Well, there's only 1,000 of them. A lot of punk records are quite rare. And this is a very expensive single. It comes with this insert. In fact, this is in my top 5 easily of expensive records. I mean, this thing sells in the thousands. Negative Approach, their first, all the lyrics here. It's 10 songs. It's a self-titled 7-inch. This better be my tag. It's a self-titled. It has it's also called the 10-song EP, or it's called the Linda Blair EP. It's got the photo of Linda Blair. There are some bootlegs. So I did look on Discogs, and the bootlegs, there's different things about the label that do not match this. So this is a first press, dude. And he bought this in Knoxville, Tennessee. I don't know if this single ever made it to the West Coast, you know? There's only 1,000 of them made. If I would have saw this in the store, I would have picked it up. It's really brutal. And that's why he didn't want it, he said, when he made his punk. The vocals are a little harsh. And he's not a fan of the harsh vocals. So he sent it my way. I'm going to send something his way. I will definitely compensate him. It won't be as valuable as this. But I'll do what I can. I mean, I'm going to send him some money too. I mean, come on. This is a Grail. This is an Infinity and Beyond Grail, dude. I never thought I would have this 7-inch in my hands, let alone even see it. I've never even seen this in person. And, shoot, my dick's getting a little hard just talking about it, you know? Fantastic. Thank you, man. Everybody, please subscribe to Randall Weaver. I'm going to leave a link and show him some support. He's kind of a mild-mannered guy. He kind of reminds me of Bruce Wayne, Batman. You know, Bruce Wayne, he was a real mild-mannered. Man, when he put that bat suit on, you know, he was... I can imagine. That's how Randall was at those punk shows, you know? Anyways, I have one new album that I did buy, and it's the Adolescents, the complete demos, 1980 to 1986. Fantastic. This is a fantastic. Naughty Women in Black Sweaters. I never noticed that before. Over here it just says the complete demos. It's 16 songs. The first 4 songs are recorded in Tony's mom's garage. They're a little rough. They're not really terrible sounding, but everything after that just sounds top notch. Fantastic album. If you don't know, the Adolescents' first album, fuck, I'll show it. It definitely made my top 10 punk albums. The video I made, if you haven't seen that, check that album out. This is their first. This is definitely in my top 10 of best punk albums of all time, and it might be, if I remember right, it's probably in my top 5. And I do know some people that think this is the best punk album ever made. And this is their follow-up, Brats and Battalions, another great album. After that, it's not that essential, their stuff. But I would say this would be the third thing to get by them. Adolescents, the complete demos. Yeah, check out my video, 100 Best Punk Bands. I threw a lot in there, and if it's a Friday or Saturday, it's not a work day, put some cold ones out, or put your favorite bottle, and you can play a drinking game. And every time I say the word fantastic in that video, take a drink. And I guarantee you, by the end of that video, you're going to be fucked up. Anyways, thank you, Randall. Bruce Wayne. He's kind of like Bruce Wayne and Mr. Rogers mixed together. but he's not creepy like Mr. Rogers. Man, have you seen that documentary about Mr. Rogers? Man, what a kind-hearted, great human being that guy was. But he was weird, dude. Negative approach. I cannot believe. The vinyl, the record needs to be cleaned. It looks like Randy has some greasy hands, you know? But anyways, take care, everybody. Thank you. And please subscribe to Randall. Man, did you hear the Jets? They fired their GM. It's like, you fired your coach before the draft. Why didn't you fire the GM at that time too? But anyways, I heard the new coach had something to do with him getting fired. So if that's true, that's his first win.